There's anxiety in the fan base, and some fans are losing their heads. But in the words of the famous manager, Tranquillo, Calma, Calma. Let's discuss what can be done and how things can improve. Whether you're an Arsenal fan, a Man United fan, a Chelsea fan, a Liverpool fan, there's lots of things to celebrate and there's quite a few things to be upset about. But it's 2024, it's a brand new year, and hopefully good news will be on the horizon for at least two of those teams. The other two, I couldn't care less. It's me, Clive. I'm joined as always with Craig.
Yeah.
And we're going to start off by talking about our beloved Gunners. It's been a bit of a rocky end to 2024, a very, very stuttering December, which is uncharacteristic of what we would hope from the team, although maybe history will show it's probably not that unexpected. For you, Craig, what's been your general overlook on how the team have performed throughout December?
We lost against Villa. We lost against West Ham. We lost against Fulham. The only good game we had was against Liverpool. That was our best game in December. Liverpool game and the Wolves game. The Wolves? Yeah, Wolves game we won. No, Brighton game. Those are only two games that we did well in. I personally feel it's down to fatigue. I think a lot of players look very leggy. Like that last couple of games, Declan Rice was very leggy. He was very tired, like he needs a rest. We're missing Partey, who can do them crucial passes in that midfield. I still don't understand why Smith Rowe wasn't given the minutes against Fulham when he could have changed the game with his range of passing and range of direct running. Still think we're short in defence. Like left back has been an issue this season because Timber's been injured, Tomiyasu has been injured, Ben White's been off form. So it's been very difficult for the manager to rotate the squad in defence. Kiwior looked lost against Fulham, didn't look very comfortable playing in the inverted role. Maybe better for him to just play him as a left back and make him stay there, not going forward and doing the inverted stuff and to keep it solid at the back. Tomiyasu had a shaky game when he came on, but obviously because he's been out for a couple of weeks, so that was understandable. Still a good player, had a good season so far. Loved him to sign a new contract. Gabriel didn't look himself on Sunday. He was arguing with Declan Rice as well. He didn't look his normal, strong, composed himself. Got beaten for that. Doku could read for the goal. Saliba looked a bit tired as well, I would say.
But I guess in many ways, like this, like winter break that's coming up. Obviously, there's the FA Cup games at the weekend, but there's going to be at least a week of no Premier League action, which is going to really help these players get that fitness and that freshness back into legs. I think this is probably the right time of having this break.
Definitely, 100%. I agree because I feel that I feel like on our bench we're not really utilising our bench good enough. I would say like rotating the squad enough. I feel like some games he plays the same team every game and it's very predictable. I think some games he can kind of change it up a bit. Against Fulham, he did make changes. He did drop Jesus and Shevchenko was dropped, even though people said he was injured. I think he was dropped. I still think he's got players like Smith Rowe who can give him something. You've got players like Nelson. If Martinelli's out of form, then give him a little run in the team, see what he can do. You've got players like Trossard, who every time he plays well for us, he gets dropped. So I think his confidence is really shot at the moment because the last two games he's played has been shocking. Not been the same player. So I feel that he needs to find someone in the team to play him, give him minutes, because I think he played well. Every time Jesus was injured, he played up front, he scored where he got an assist. Even last season, when he was doing well in the team, then Jesus was fit, then he got dropped. And I thought after he got dropped, his confidence went low. I think he's a confidence player, is Trossard, and I feel that we need to utilise him more because he's going to end up getting fed up and want to leave the club. I know maybe when Arsenal signed him, maybe his role was a rotational player, not a starter, but I feel like he deserves to start because he's been playing well.
Yeah. Let's talk about that because I think there has been a lot of debate online about these results in particular. You think about our last three games that we've had. So we our last league games. Let's go for our last five. So we started off with a 1-0 defeat to Aston Villa on 9th of December. Then we bounced back with a 2-0 home win against Brighton. Then we went to Anfield and drew 1-1, a very tight game, which could have gone either way. And I think a draw is probably a fair result on the balance, everything that happened. You know, we had the Odegaard handball incident, we had a couple of penalty shots here and there. So I think 1-1 was a fair game and a fair result. Then we lost at home to West Ham 2-0. And then, of course, we lost away to Fulham 2-1. And I want to look at those last two games in particular, the Fulham and the West Ham games, because to me, there was a lot of good things in the West Ham game in our build-up play and our approach with the ball,
Yeah.
where in the Fulham game, those were completely missing. Whereas at the same time, when in the Fulham game, we went 1-0 up and we just didn't seem to control the match beyond that. And we didn't seem to be able to get into gear to fight back and find that second wind in getting an equaliser and pushing on to kind of win it. But, you know, for you, do you feel like there's an issue with a tactical approach to the team? Or do you think it is just that tiredness, as you said before?
I feel it's a bit of both. I feel the problem is the team is that last season, we were moving the ball quicker. Like, Partey would get the ball, boom, into the striker. We're not, like Declan Rice the other day, what Arsenal was doing, he kept on playing backward passes, backwards. He hasn't got, I don't know if he's got an ability, in him to play a ball, just like a cutting pass, just to open up their defence. Because I saw Eddie Nketiah was making loads of good runs and wasn't getting that final pass, just to slot him through. The only one that did it to him once was Odegaard, and he missed that chance in the first half when he hit it and hit the side hoardings. I thought that to play to Eddie Nketiah's strengths, you need to play the ball to him quick. Let him run. Play her penetrating passes, and you'll get through on goal.
I feel like we've had this conversation about Nketiah from last season, in that when he's given a run at games, he was making lots of runs in a lot of key games and not necessarily we've seen in the past. Do you think ultimately it comes down to the fact that maybe his teammates look at him and think, we don't back you to score, and if we do play that pass, it's just going to come back the other way and we're going to have to be back defending again?
I feel that's down to the manager and the players. That's down to the manager. The manager is the one who put faith in and gave him the number 14 shirt, gave him a £100,000 contract. So at the end of the day, like your teammates have to trust you. If you're not earning the trust from the teammates, then there's no point in you being at the club. I'll be honest with you, there's no point. Because at the end of the day, if your teammates don't believe you're going to do impact in the team, what's the point of having you there on big wages? You might as well sell him and buy somebody else who can do the job.
It's a fair point. I mean, there's been lots of talk about what might happen this window, because there's a few players that have been underutilized, like you said. Like you mentioned, Trossard's kind of, you know, when he plays well, doesn't get picked the next game, and he's out of the side, and then when he comes back in, looks really off the pace or just not really onto it. You've got players like Smith Rowe, who I thought had a very good cameo against West Ham, didn't touch the pitch against Fulham, which was really strange, because I think that Fulham game was crying out for a player to carry the ball from midfield. If you're not going to be able to punch it with your passing, at least carry it from midfield and move it quickly whilst doing that. And we just didn't utilise that potential option. And in fact, when we did bring on Jesus off the bench and switched the formation with Tomiyasu continuing to invert, it just congested midfield for us. So there was no out balls. And then the other player you look at is Reece Nelson, who did come off the bench, but he hasn't started much. And I've seen a lot of fans thinking, we could command certain fees. Like, you know, there's been talk about how much Lewis Hall, you know, bids Newcastle are turning down for him, and people saying, we should be getting around that kind of 40 million pound mark for Nelson. But it's like he hasn't started enough games to even justify that as a potential fee. And if his contract numbers are, which is rumoured to be between 80 to 100,000 a week, if those are accurate, then it's going to be very difficult to shift him on to another club and get a high transfer fee, even though we have got the protection of the years of his contract. So me personally, I think he deserves more game time. But if the manager doesn't think he can influence the team enough, then you have to think about making adjustments. And if it means that players that we really like and really have a lot of faith in, like Smith Rowe, and we hope do well, or Nelson, if they have to get moved on, then so be it. But I think that's going to be a big question. Obviously, just looking at that game as well against Fulham, you mentioned Gabriel and Saliba's performances and just not being 100% there. You mentioned Rice and Gabriel shouting over the goal, which I don't mind players arguing about that, because I think both of them were at fault for different reasons. But the lack of a response in the second half, you know, it was 1-1 from the 29th minute, and they scored on the 59th minute to make it 2-1. And from that point on, we never really looked like scoring. I know Saka had a great chance, which he blazed over. And I think that to me is a sign of the fact that he's just played too many minutes. But in that situation, like, what do you think Arteta could have done better to really get more out of the team?
It's his decision making when it comes to picking the team. As I said before, he's too loyal to certain players, and certain players are letting him down. A bit like how Arsene Wenger was loyal to players in the past, and it always kept on letting him down in the big games. I feel that some players like Saka, to be honest with you, as he said, he's played too many minutes. He's still, I personally feel he's injured. He's not played 100 his normal self this season. He's not as rapid. He's not as effective. I know he's getting assists and all that, but it's not as, you know how he was last season. He was dynamic, getting goals, running around, taking on players. I think teams have kind of found us out now, found out how to play against us.
But then, I think there's an element of that. I don't necessarily think he's injured. I think his way of playing has changed to allow him to play multiple games a week. He's not running as like a dog, I guess. You know when you have like race dogs and they fly out the traps.
Out the kennels,
he's not running like that. It's more of a conserved way of running. So he's still taking on players. Bearing in mind he has to, take on 2-3 players most times on his side. And I think one of the biggest things that's missing in that conversation about Saka's form is the guy behind him in Ben White. And then the guy, just in between both of them, or the two guys in between both of them, which is Rice and Odegaard, and without having Partey there, we're just missing that quick pass through the lines to get Saka isolated. But I think alongside that, Ben White's drop off in form this season, he's not overlapping as much as he used to. He's not underlapping as much as he used to. And when he does overlap, it's always takes a touch, turn, and it's back inside again. It's not like last year when he might run in and get a quick cross, he might beat a man and put it in. It's just everyone's playing on safety.
I heard that White's been injured for a while. It's not fit. He's injured. He's been playing with a niggling injury for a while now. I think the reason why he hasn't been dropped because Tomiyasu has been injured. He has to patch him up. We have nobody else to play.
And there's no Timber.
There's no Timber.
I mean, obviously we got Cedric, but
you got that young kid, raw waters, but Arteta's not going to put a rookie in the team. I think that's the issue as well. Like with the young players, like even in the Champions League game, I was saying to you when we beat when we won against London, we played against PSV. I personally thought he should have rested some of the big players and played some of the youth, or even bring them off the bench, just for experience, just to say, you know what, you have a future at this club, you'll get minutes at this club. Because I feel like if we don't give some of the youngsters a chance, they'll end up leaving.
Well, I think the big metric for me about that, and I didn't think that was a great opportunity for him to do that because clearly the fans wanted it. On the one hand, I think it's good to show them that actually you really have to earn it. You guys are playing really well, but you still need to earn it. You've not arrived yet, and that's important. At the same time, there was an opportunity missed there. And you're right, giving them minutes in that game at home, big atmosphere would have been great. I think it was at home.
It was a Lons game, yeah.
Lons game,
and
at home, and a PSV away.
Yeah.
So it's been a great opportunity for them. On the flip side, this weekend with the FA Cup match we've got, listen, I'm hoping at least one of the young guys start, if not more. But if I don't see any of them touch the pitch in any capacity, I will be very surprised. Not to downplay what the FA Cup means this season, but considering, I think the team needs a bit of a refresh, a slight rejig, and I want to see a couple of players moved around. But I do think, with all of that said, I do think the Ben White form is contributing to Saka. I also think as a team, like you say, we don't move the ball fast as we used to last season. I think that's having a massive impact on the output of not just Saka, but Martinelli as well, because Martinelli is barely scored this season. He's not looking himself. He does seem a bit, he's got his head down a lot. We know his style is to be head down running, and then he'll just produce a bit of skill out of nowhere. But it has felt like too many touches into a cul-de-sac and then lose the ball or give it back and then not creating much. Whereas with Saka, it feels like it's just me against the world. I'm double teamed and I've got to figure out how to create space. And sometimes he does it, other times he doesn't. And he just needs more support from the right back and also from the guy on the inside. So like Odegaard, Rice, Havertz, these guys need to do a bit more to help him. And that will make a big difference. On the Arsenal topic, I want to talk about a couple more things, but looking at our striking issue as well, because obviously, again, looking at January, and there is a lot of talk about whether we move for Ivan Toney, whether we look at people like Vlahovic, if we look at people like Victor Boniface, who's at Leverkusen, whether we look at Osimhen from Napoli. Lots of talk about strikers. It's going to be very expensive, whatever decision we go for. It's going to be very difficult because of financial fair play, and we would have to get a very, very good accounting deal. not a Chelsea deal, but a smart deal to get these guys in. But Gabriel Jesus, I love what he does for the team. I love how he sets play. I love how he moves. I love how since he's come to the club, him and Zinchenko as a pair, they've helped move us from challenging for top four to challenging for the title in one season.
Yeah.
Which is phenomenal that two players coming in has had that big of a impact on the mentality of the team and our aggression in matches. Now, weirdly enough, both of those players, the spotlights are brightly on them in terms of can we upgrade from them now? Which it sounds crazy when you think about last season, what they did. But it just goes to show how fast football moves and how much expectations change. What is your thoughts on Jesus now, a season in, how his finishing has been so erratic, and with the club being where we are in the table and the possibility of going all the way, what's your thoughts on him now?
I feel that I don't think he's a striker. He does all the good work outside of the box. When you need him to be in the box, he's not in the box. Like against West Ham, Saka put in a quality ball. All he had to do was get in the box, tap in. Against Fulham, quality ball, put in the box.
I saw that, yeah.
Not in the box. We don't need. We've got Odegaard. We've got Havertz. We've got Declan Rice. We don't need an extra. When he plays when he's going on to right back, right midfield, left mid, he needs to stay in the striker. I don't know if Arteta's instructing him to roll him around the pitch, but if he stays up front, he'll get more goals. And I thought the problem with him is he doesn't stay in. We need someone like a Tony and maybe a Jesus as a number 10 behind him or something. And then maybe try that, see if that would work. Because I feel that we should be not where we are on the table now. If Jesus didn't miss them chances against West Ham, the two headers he missed, open goal he missed against West Ham, we wouldn't be where we are now. We'd be second or maybe even top. But I feel that because he's not taking his chances, he's missing easy chances, it's affecting the team. Confidence in the team is getting low. Like players are not going to thinking, can we back this guy to score 20 goals a season? But if you look at his Premier League record, he's never scored 20 or 25 goals a season. Even at City, he's never broken the 20 goal mark. I think his best season, he scored, 16, 17 goals? That's or something.
Yeah. I wonder if that's because to me, I wonder if that's just a mindset issue, because it's not an ability issue, because he's technically gifted beyond belief, and his movement is really good.
Yeah,
he's a lot stronger than people think. And I know when people talk about Arsenal needing an imposing striker and someone that can hold the ball up, I think our memory is as fans is very, very short. And some of you fans out there should be ashamed of yourselves, because some of the takes I've seen online like this season have been horrendous, talking about we need a big physical presence. I do agree we need something to mix it up with, but I don't necessarily think it needs to just be that big quote-unquote target man, because last season, lest we forget, did Jesus not have Van Dijk on toast at Anfield?
He did.
For the first half, Liverpool fans. I know how the second half went before you guys jumped in and mentioned
he actually destroyed him. He destroyed
How
him.
many games was there when the ball was played up to him and he somehow held off bigger defenders than him? He bullied Botman. He would bully Brighton's defender. Lewis Dunk,
yeah.
The guy who never gets bullied. And you're thinking, just Jesus, the amount of defenders he spent, left on their bum, it's the same guy. It's just this season, we're not playing the ball to him in the same way. We don't do the long ball, which, and again, that will probably be another thing we'll say about the goalkeeping switch, because in as much as Ramsdale has his faults, and we know Raya has his faults, because I was talking about this of an Arsenal fan this past week about the two goalkeepers, and I was saying, statistically, I think Raya is better than Ramsdale, but he don't fill you with the same confidence at all.
No, it doesn't.
And one of the things that is dawning on me now, because we're so insistent on playing out from the back and playing it a lot shorter than when Ramsdale was in goal, and I know that was a point Ramsdale made himself where he spoke with the coaching staff and they agreed that he can kind of play the ball a bit differently to what the coach wants, because the coach wants to play it short, up from the back, and Ramsdale would often go long. Those long balls helped a lot last season.
It did.
The amount of times we went long to Jesus, he went long to the corner towards Martinelli, and we got little flick-ons. We got the ball from there into Xhaka in the little pocket in the inside. We don't do that anymore. And that's a trick that we're missing this season. I know we did it a bit against Man City in the Community Shield, and we chipped the ball up to Havertz a lot of times, and he got that, gave a bit of break for the team players around them. But we're not really going, and it's not going long. I call it going medium. We're not doing that medium pass into the striker who's pulled off the line, into the number 8, into the winger. We're not doing that so much this season. It's just 2 feet or it's just little chip balls. It's not quite the same. And I do wonder if the coaching staff have missed a trick by going for a player that, maybe better in many other elements of his game. But I think in terms of that unpredictability of passing, because Ramsdale used to catch the ball and whack it out quick, and we're on the attack. And with Raya, it's a lot more catch it, slow. Everything is slow. And I know,
I personally feel that I think Ramsdale's a better keeper. I honestly feel Ramsdale's a better keeper. I know everyone says Raya's better, but if you look at the last couple of games, Raya's conceded every game this season. Every game he played recently, he's conceded a goal.
Yep.
He's not making enough saves. And I feel that, yes, he's good with his feet. He's good at playing the short passes, but I think Ramsdale, maybe what they should do is play Raya in the home games and play Ramsdale in the away games. I think Ramsdale's better away from home. Look at Tottenham last season away from home when he made that save from Sessegnon, was going in the corner, kept us in the game to make it 2-0. So I think Ramsdale should play in the away games and Raya should play in the home games. See how it goes, work it out, and then you can decide. Because I don't think Arteta's been fair with Ramsdale, to be honest with you. I feel that he started him at the start of the season, brought in Raya, dropped him, and not given him a chance to get his place back.
Yeah, I mean, it could also be how he's performing in training. Maybe they feel like, because again, when you go back to when we originally were looking to upgrade from Leno after the Martinez debacle, the target they wanted was Raya, and Brentford said no at the time.
Yeah.
So it's a player they've always wanted. Now, there's a big question about our goalkeeping coach. We've talked about it before on the pod, but he's recommended Runarsson, flop, absolute, should never have signed for Arsenal. Raya, jury's out. Some would say not good enough. I'm going to say jury's out. We'll see at the end of the season. I feel like there was someone else that he recommended as well. I don't think he recommended... I think he was in the discussions around Ramsdale, but I don't know if he recommended him. But you think that's 3 goalkeepers now that you've been involved in their recruitment and none of them convince you. Runarsson, like I said, should never have been signed. Raya doesn't fill anyone with confidence. And then Ramsdale is now out of favour. And I think Ramsdale, he was team of the season last year. He did really well. But there was clearly a potential. I don't think it was the right move to get another goalkeeper. It didn't really need to be done. And it's a problem we've created for no reason, and one he's going to have to solve. I guess on that note, I know we've talked about his stubbornness in the past and everything, but and I think maybe we'll save that for another conversation another day. But just looking at, in terms of the solutions to this, comparing internal versus external. So do we go out and buy? Who do we go out and buy on what positions? Or looking within the squad, what tweaks can we do with the current squad to really get us firing more efficiently? Because I'm not too upset with what we're doing this season, to be honest with you, because the most important thing is to be within touching distance by March. And right now we are within touch. We're on 40 points. Liverpool on 45, top of the table. We've both got the same amount of games played. So we're not in a bad position, but it could easily become a worse position. It could become a better position if we don't make these adjustments. Because we've not won in 3. We've got 1 win in 5.
Yeah.
With 3.
And who do we have after the winter break?
Next game is Crystal Palace at home.
He says injured at the moment.
That's a tricky one.
That's a hard game.
Yeah.
That's a hard game.
But what would you see as a solution to this kind of...
Well, he's got a couple of players that are out of favour at the moment. He's got El Neni, Runarsson can go.
Well, El Neni will be away for AFCON.
I'm hearing rumours that someone wants to buy him. Team in Turkey want to buy him.
You're welcome. Please take him.
El Neni is available. Cedric is available to go. Would I sacrifice someone like a Smith Rowe? No, because he could come back and haunt you. Only if they offered top dollar for him, then maybe think about it. But I don't think so.
But the issue is, if the manager won't use him,
then yeah,
he's just there. And he's a player that could command a good fee. I wouldn't sell him.
I wouldn't sell him either, because we'll end up regretting it.
But I'd play him.
I'll play him as well. We've got Nelson, who I feel that hasn't been given opportunities. He has to look at his career now. He's 24 years old, been at Arsenal all his career. Does he want to be known as a benchman for the rest of his career, or does he want to be known as a man that can challenge and get minutes? It's a very tricky one, because I feel that he should be getting more minutes because the wingers ahead of him are not doing the job at the moment. So I'll be thinking to myself, looking at the situation, thinking, what do I do? Do I hold on, or do I wait until the summer and go and demand a move, or should I wait in January? It's up to him.
Well, let's throw this at you as an interesting thought. So, our next game is on the 20th of January against Fulham at home.
Not for them, Crystal Palace.
Crystal Palace at home, sorry.
Yeah.
Ivan Toney's ban ends on the 17th of January. So,
Yeah.
if we were to sign him, he would be eligible and able to play on that game.
Yeah.
With that in mind, would you sign him? And if you agree or say, yeah, I would, what would be your starting 11 for Arsenal against Crystal Palace? And you can end the bench as well if you want to.
In goal, I would make a change in goal. I'll put Ramsdale back in, give him some minutes again. Right back, Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel, left back. I think Shevchenko's injured at the moment. He's going to be out for a little while. I would play Kivior because nobody else can play there because Tomiyasu is gone to
Asia Cup. Yeah.
Asia Cup. So centre mid, if Partey's fit, I'd have him on the bench. So I'll play Declan Rice, Odegaard, and Havertz. Right wing, Saka. Left wing, Martinelli. Up top, I'll start Jesus up top, but I'll see it at half time. If he's not doing the job, I'll take him off at half time. I'll bring on Tony.
You're going with Tony signing and Tony on the bench to start off with?
Yeah, because I don't think he'll start because obviously he hasn't played for 8 months, so it would take him a while to get used to it. But I would have him on the bench as an impact sub just for this game. And if it does well, comes off the bench and does well, then I'll start him.
Okay.
After in following games. And then on the bench, I'll have if we still have, I'll have Smith Rowe, Nelson, some of the youngsters on the bench as well, like maybe your Ninyaris and your who else would I have on the bench as well? Like Koza, Dewberry Koza.
Yeah. What about Trossard? You'd have him on the bench as well.
And Trossard as well. And I have a couple of defenders on the bench like Walters and hold on, who else?
Or just Raw Waters.
Just Raw Waters and the goalkeeper. Ryer on the bench, yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what happens there. It could be an interesting way of going about it. I do think he does need to shift things around because if not, it's going to be a bit problematic. Just one final thing on Arsenal, just to compare the results at the same point in the season last year versus this year. So this season, as we mentioned, so for the month of December, Arsenal beat Wolves 2-1, then beat Luton 4-3, and then lost to Aston Villa 1-0, beat Brighton 2-0, drew with Liverpool 1-1, lost to West Ham, and then lost to Fulham 2-0 and 2-1 respectively. Last season, because of the World Cup, I'm going to kind of jump around a bit. So I'm going to start from the middle of October and then work up. So 16th of October, beat Leeds away 1-0, then drew Southampton 1-1, smashed Nottingham Forest 5-0 at the Emirates, beat Chelsea 1-0 in November, Wolves 2-0, then West Ham 3-1, and then ended December with a 4-2 victory over Brighton. Then started January with a 0-0 draw against Newcastle. So shows that there's been a big drop-off in terms of performances. I mean, the goals is the thing that's really stands out. We've not really gone and gotten a lot of goals, like the 5-0 against Sheffield United back in October. It feels like a rarity. Something we need to work on because there's definitely more goals in this team. But let's look over at Liverpool. They have been having a brilliant season. Soaring ahead, massive 4-2 win against Newcastle at home on Monday. Could have gone either way, to be fair. I think no. So, in a sense, it could have gone either way. Mm-hmm. That is true. Newcastle had a lot of chances. Liverpool, on the flip side, should have scored 10 because they battered them. That is probably the worst win I've seen from a team that's dominated the match. That sounds really weird, but they could have comfortably been out of sight in the first half, no questions. But then just really poor finishing across the board. Obviously, Salah had a penalty saved, and Newcastle just that team where they've got something. They've got something. Eddie Howe's building something, but it's just not quite there. You know what I mean? It's like it's getting there, but it's not quite there. But
Too many injuries, I would say. They had a lot of injuries.
it is. But I think this season Europe has kind of shown they're not levels yet. I don't just think it's the injuries. I think they've not quite got the X factor for the Champions League and for these big.
So the next question I'm going to throw at you: do you feel that Newcastle qualified the Champions League too early in their new? No.
I think in some respects, because people could say the same thing about Arsenal, was our title challenge last year too early, and I'd say no, because when an opportunity comes your way, you don't turn it down as a club, but also at the same time, for them to have been able to make the Champions League, that's incredible. Now there are lessons they need to learn, and in terms of like adjusting your tactics and how to adapt to the bigger occasion. But no, I wouldn't say it was too early in the process. I would probably say that it's one of those experiences you need to have and then learn from quick. So next season they'll be much better in how they handle it. Are they in Europa League or are they out of it altogether?
Bottom of the group.
So they'll learn from that for next season. And if anything, that humbling experience, going back in Champions League for a long time and then dropping out of it straight away, it will galvanize them for next season when they're back in the competition, and they'll probably have a much better run at it. And as a coach, it will probably also show Eddie Howe what kind of things he's missing from his team, because there's definitely things he could pick up and things he could try better next time.
But do you think they're going to give him time though? Because I'm hearing that they're not really happy with him at the moment, but they might look to move him on and get somebody else in.
I think that's always been a question that with Mark as well, we've always talked about it, and he's always felt like Eddie Howe's a stopgap until they can get that big name manager to kind of match the brand. What I think Newcastle have been very clever with is going down this British route with the manager of the recruitment of players. And that's kind of giving them a buffer in the press. And it's also helped them have this positive PR when we know there's many question marks around their ownership and that. So I'll leave that at that. I think if they were going to switch it out and get a different manager, it has to be someone at the upper level. Like when they were linked to Unai Emery, that would have made perfect sense. And in fact, Emery to Newcastle now would make perfect sense because that's that next phase manager. Yeah. He's not quite your Klopp level. He's not quite your top. And don't get me wrong, Unai Emery is a really good manager. I'm not saying he's not a great manager, but I think there's still brackets in the class of managers, and I think he's a bracket below the likes of Klopp and Pep and whatever. There's not many managers that's at that highest echelon of quality. Yeah. But he's the level below in that he could take Newcastle to that next level. Can he take them to a title? I don't know. But he could definitely take them to a European win. He could take them to a few cup wins. So that will be the question, is if they can get that next step manager, I think it's probably worth doing.
I don't know if Emery want to leave us. He's doing a good job at Aston
Villa. Well, I'm not saying Emery is a particular manager that should leave Villa to go to Newcastle, but I think that's the level. That's the level they should be targeting. You don't go for like your Benitez's now.
No, he's finished.
It doesn't make sense. And Ancelotti would be an interesting one. Not saying that Ancelotti would go because he's got a new contract at Madrid, but I put Ancelotti in that Pep
Guardiola.
Yeah, he's
the number one. I'll say.
But he would be the highest level coach that they would want to aspire to get out of the top bracket. Not that he's attainable to them from where they are right now, but if you wanted the best coach from that small list, he's the number one pick I'd go for because he's just a brilliant manager. But then I think they'll need to bring in a few more individual game winners to make the difference for him. But yeah, I think they should see out for the season, see how it goes. If they are going to make that change, then I think it will also come with changing policy of transfers, because if you're going to go for a big name manager, you're going to need to bring in some big name players or some players that manager's going to want to work with. And I think for Newcastle now, yes, they let Saint-Maximin go because he wasn't, in terms of his output, it wasn't great, but they need that flair. That flair players.
Like they had in the past, Ginola, Robert, Bellamy had that kind of flair.
That's what I was missing.
Yeah.
If Saint-Maximin could score goals, Newcastle this season would be an absolute joke.
So Gordon on one wing and Maximin on the other wing.
Or even just to rotate. Yeah. But I mean a player that can do the stuff he can do to like a much higher standard, like actually get goals. Like you think about what Hazard was for Chelsea, think about what Cristiano Ronaldo was at Manchester United when he first came through. that player that you can give the ball to. Even looking at like what Salah is to Liverpool, he might frustrate you for 75% of the game, but then he'll just bang in a goal, like even this game against Newcastle.
I know one winger that would have been good for them, like Rafael Leao or the winger from Napoli, the Georgian winger.
Oh yeah, Kvaratskhelia. But like either one of them, right? Even if they'll go for Rafael Leao, because that would be a very smart signing for the summer. Rafael Leao to Newcastle.
It cost a lot of money though.
They're rich. Bookmark that.
Yeah. Rafael Leao is a good player.
Because if they were to go for a big manager, and bring in a player like Rafael Leao in summer for the Champions League campaign part 2, sign me up. Sign me up, because I would say, okay, Newcastle are really cooking something here, and it's looking good. So that I'm not ruling it out. I think that could be a good shout. But speaking on signings, obviously Liverpool have done an amazing job this summer of what players they brought in and how well they've adapted to what Klopp wants. You think about Endo, you think about Gakpo, you think about, I know Gakpo was last season, but adaptation period. You think about Gravenberch, McAllister, who I think is an absolute steal. And Szoboszlai as well. Yeah. They prioritise attack with their signings, and I think that's proved to be the right decision. Do you think it's just a case of getting the right attacking players in that's really helped them get back on track? And what lessons do you think clubs like, maybe even like Arsenal, could learn from Liverpool from what they did this summer?
I feel like what happened in the summer, they had a total reset because they got rid of Milner left, the captain Henderson left, Fabinho left, Firmino left. So they had a complete clear out, if you want to call it that. They cleared out all the aging players in the team, and they said we have to start buying young again. So the total reshift, and they got some young. They made Van Dijk captain. First thing they made Van Dijk captain. I always thought he was the leader anyway in the team, even though Henderson was the captain. But I thought Van Dijk was the leader anyway. So they did that. They gave Trent a more role in the team again. So Trent was like play some games to invert into midfield. Scored some crucial goals like against Man City when they were losing. Scored some crucial goals against Fulham. So I feel that they've recruited well. McAllister was a steal for how much they got him for. Normally Brighton always get 100 million or 50 million plus for their players. So the film to get them how much he got him for was an amazing deal. Szoboszlai is a very good player. I've rated him for a long time. Scored goals in Germany, scored goals in Hungary. Good with it. Very like Steven Gerrard-esque when it comes to shooting from distance. That's true. Endo, I never heard of him before. But I heard that he did well in Germany. He was a very good player in Germany, but I never heard about him at all. But he's sorted in well. Gravenberch, I know about Gravenberch from Ajax days. I think he's always been a top player.
You know what's interesting with Gravenberch? That was a player that Mark was looking at as their alternatives. When they thought about Bellingham deal falling apart, not getting Tchouaméni, that was one name he looked at as a potential maybe. That's before he went to Bayern.
Yeah.
So he went to Bayern, didn't work out there, and they've been able to get him in. And he's still learning, still developing, and still getting used to Liverpool's way of playing. But you can see what they want to do there. It's like they've, taken what they missed out on with Wijnaldum's departure, what they missed from not getting.
He reminds me of Wijnaldum. He could be potentially with a new Wijnaldum for them.
Yeah.
So how Wijnaldum needs to get like the ball carrier, make tackles, be a playmaker as well. And I feel like in the summer, Thiago will be gone in the summer anyway. And he's been injured a lot. It's a shame. Very good. I liked him, very good player, but he's been injury prone. Not his fault, but I think
one good thing with Wijnaldum is that you think about his Newcastle, that his last season when he got that 10 or 11 goals, and just how consistent of an attacking threat he was and what he brought to Liverpool when he went there. So that's a good benchmark for Gravenberch to aim up for. But there's one player we have to talk about who, when it comes to the goal scoring touch, before him, Gakpo as well.
Gakpo's done well.
Coming in off the wing, playing a few different positions. He's played through the middle, played off the left wing, on some games on the right wing. He's adapted quite well to them. Yeah. But there is a guy who we can't forget, we can't ignore, and I'm sorry, Mark, but I still think it will work out. I really do. But it don't look good at all. And of course I'm talking about Darwin Nunez. The guy is an enigma because he does everything right.
But
doesn't score. And I think the problem with Nunez is that you can forgive him missing the hard chances, when he goes on those mazy runs and, some of the half chances he gets. it's the bread and butter finishes that is really hard to defend. I've been watching these 1v1 NFL route. It's a channel called Destroying. It's quite interesting. And they always do these one-on-ones. It's like DB, defensive blocker versus a wide receiver, and they try and catch the ball. And they have a phrase, you gotta finish your dinner. Right? I don't understand why this guy is it just not hungry? Like, he's in front of goal, he misses some. Look, I've seen Jorginho miss an open goal live. Arsenal versus Bradford in the FA Cup. That was one of the worst misses I've seen in my life. And I was sat in the Bradford end. Shout out to Chris for getting me tickets. It was awful. 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 Because I'm telling you, it was painful. And I know for Liverpool fans, it must really be hard to defend this guy because, you know, when you first signed in, there was all that conversation about Haaland versus Nunez, who's going to be this, that. But you can't chat to Haaland. You can't chat to Haaland. You can't even chat to Jesus. Couldn't last season. Jesus outscored him just by a couple goals, but it still counts. You can't chat to Jared Bowen, and Jared Bowen's not even a striker, but he plays up front. And my issue with Nunez is that, okay, it's adaptation, but then there comes a point where it has to click eventually. Because if it's still the same by the end of this season, and it's still the same at this point in the following season, so 2024-25 season, if we're at January and he's still misfiring, at what point did Liverpool say, you know what, we've got to cut our losses and it's just, you know, it's the South American undercarriage. At what point does that become a thing?
Do you remember Diego Forlan when he played for Man United? It reminds me of him a little bit. It was missing easy chances and then he will score the impossible goal he will score. I feel like the thing with him, he's got a rawness to him. He can get into the air, he can get into he knows how to maneuver in the box. I think he needs to be more calm with his finishing. I think he rushed his finishing. He's not calm, composed. If he's more calm and relaxed and like chilled, he will score more goals. Honestly, he will score more goals.
But could it also be the fact that on a technical level, because it's always been one of the criticisms about Nunez is that technically he's not the most skilled player. And I remember there was the jokes about his stepovers when he was at Benfica. That stepovers was just like, it was like he was swimming because they were so wide, you know. But could it come down to just those fundamentals? Because his technique is not as refined as it probably should be for his age and for the type of player that he is, that's letting him down? Or is it just a mental thing? And once that mental block goes, which I think is Jesus' problem as a comparator, once that mental block goes, then it will flow.
I think so. He's got goals in him. 100% he's got goals in him. I think a lot of people in the media have been very harsh with him, criticising him and belittling him and all that. But I personally thought this guy will score goals.
I'm not going
to... If he gets service, I thought if he gets more service...
I'm not even going to... I don't think the media have belittled him. I think they've been right.
Yes. He has missed a lot of chances. I'm not going to lie. He has missed a lot of chances, but I still feel there's a player... Look at the assist he got for Salah the other day. He can do something out of nothing. He may miss a chance. Let me say this year, there's a lot of top strikers in the Premier League, yeah? A lot of players. There's a lot of strikers in the Premier League. And there's a lot of them over the years. They'll miss a chance, their head goes down, they can't score again, they lose their confidence. This guy will miss a chance, no worries. 2 minutes later, got the end, assist for Salah, assist for Jota, assist for Diaz, assist for somebody else. It doesn't faze him. He'll miss a big chance and he'll go and do an impact.
I agree.
And doesn't faze him.
But here's the problem for Liverpool.
Yeah.
And you can see it as a problem, but it's also an opportunity for him. Salah's now going to be away at AFCON for the month. Maybe, depends how far Egypt go. And I think Egypt need to go far in that competition because I've been hearing lots of chat about who's the greatest ever African player and people are trying to say Mo Salah is that guy. I'm sorry, but he hasn't won a Ballon d'Or. Samuel Eto'o has 2. And Samuel Eto'o also has 2 Champions Leagues. 2 trebles.
No, 3.
3 Champions League, 2 trebles for 2 different teams in back-to-back seasons. He is not number 1, Mo Salah. He might be number 3. You could argue number 2, but Yaya Toure is right there.
Yeah, Toure's
not there. Toure is there. Drogba's in top 5, but he's not top 3. So there's a conversation to be had. But with that being said, then like with Mo Salah's gone, in as much as you can have this praise for what he does in terms of the other elements, creating goals, making opportunities for him, and that's not to discredit what the likes of Jota and Gakpo and Diaz should do in this time, what the likes of Harvey Elliott's been doing this season, Curtis Jones been doing this season in terms of chipping in with goals, and obviously Trent from the back. But Nunez, the lights are going to be on him now. He needs to start putting that ball in the back of that net in this time when their main goal threat is away. Because if he doesn't, this time of Salah in AFCON, weirdly enough, if it goes horrifically wrong for Liverpool in a scoring position, this could take them from top of the league to out of contention in the time he's away.
That could happen.
It could happen. It shouldn't, because they're having a really good season, but it really could have that big of an effect because Kevin the robot, Kevin McAllister, aka Kevin De Bruyne, is almost back from his injury hiatus. Haaland will be back fully fit. He's obviously got a chance to have this rest off. They're going to come back with a vengeance, and they've already been coming back with a vengeance in Man City. So Liverpool cannot afford to have a month of poor performances. They can't. So, and it's not to put all the onus on Nunez, but as a striker, your number one job is to score goals.
Yeah.
Everything else is important in the modern game, but primarily a striker is a goal scorer. Then after that, if you're not a great goal scorer, are you a great facilitator? Then after that, if you're not a great facilitator in terms of setting up goals, are you a great team player? That's why there's some teams that will always, that's why some strikers will always get clubs no matter what they do, because they are very effective. Even if they don't score goals or if they're on a poor run of games, like Antonio at West Ham at times, even though he's been very good.
On Brighton.
They are very good at doing a specific job. Neil Maupay, no one rates, but he keeps getting clubs because he's good at something. So you have to have more, and you have to be able to do, if you can't do your main thing, maximize the other two things. So it's going to be a big question for him, and we'll see how it goes. But I mean, Liverpool, they're doing well. Klopp's really got it figured out, and he took last season personally, and I rate him for that. I guess on a final thing, just looking over at Chelsea really quickly, because we could talk about Chelsea a lot, but frankly, we're going to save that for when Matthew's back and available to discuss them, because there's a lot we want to get into with them. I want to focus on their key players. And there's a lot of talk about Chelsea, whether they'll make additional signings. I think Poch has said himself that he wants some more bodies. I mean, like, bruv, you have enough people. You should be able to coach these guys, because they're not rubbish. They're just not good. But when you look at how good Cole Palmer's been so far in his first season at Chelsea, obviously he looked really good in pre-season at Man City, and it was a big surprise that they sold him. You look at what potentially the likes of Nkunku, Mudryk, Madikele, Enzo, and Badiashile should be doing in their respective areas. And I mentioned those five, and I feel like they need to rise it now. I know Nkunku's come back from his injury, and he's gotten a couple of goals now in his last few games. He's looking good. But the other four, like, how much more do they need to rise it? Because Enzo this season has not been it, and there's been games he's been dropped, which shocks me. £100 million player looking like a £25 million player. But what do you need to see from those four? Mudryk, Madikele, Enzo, and Badiashile to really help Chelsea?
Mudryk goals and assists. Badiashile does good clean sheets. Enzo, is it Enzo, yeah? Enzo needs to be more dominant force for his club. He don't pay Benfica. Benfica must have been licking their lips when they got that money for him, boy.
Yo, Chelsea, you got fleeced.
They were licking their lips for that money. Even Shakhtar Donetsk must have been licking their lips when they got that money for Mudryk as well. They thought, we'll outbid Arsenal. Let's take the money and run. So they took the money and run. So on serious note, these players need to step it up. If Chelsea want to get top four or get into Europe next season, there's two ways they can do it. They can either win a trophy, then the Carabao Cup semi-final, or they can get into the top four. But I feel they're very far away from the top four. They're in 10th place, aren't they? 9th or 10th place.
10th. No matter what Chelsea do, no matter how well they perform, they still end up in 10th. Week in, week out. They are just not shifting from 10th.
And I think the problem is that other teams in the league who are in better form than them. I know that they won the last 2 games, but there are other teams in the league that I thought were doing much more better than them. Like Wolves are doing well. You got teams like West Ham are doing well. Brighton are doing well. Aston Villa are doing well. Newcastle are near.
Newcastle are 9th.
Newcastle are near them, but that's because they lost a couple. They lost like 4 games in a row now.
Wow.
Brentford have lost a lot of games recently as well. So I feel that the issue is that if Chelsea can be more consistent in the second half of the season and pick up more points, then hopefully they can challenge for top 4. If not, then it's going to be another wasted season with a £1 billion spent on average players.
Yeah, it's a big ask. I mean, they're on 28 points, Newcastle on 29. I think after the next 3 set of games, Chelsea should, results permitting, be able to get up to about 7th or 6th.
Yeah.
I'd expect them to be around 7th/6th with a couple of points off 6th by the next 3 games. That's what they'll need.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's just not looking good. But it's just been a weird season for them. Just on the final thing on the table, obviously the top 4 right now is Liverpool, Aston Villa, Man City, Arsenal. The bottom 3, or the bottom 4 from 17th down is Everton, Luton, Burnley, Sheffield. Do you think the top 4 is going to stay the same? And if not, I don't mean positions, but the teams in it. If not, who goes in, who comes out? And then the bottom 3, is that staying the same, or do you think there'll be more twists? Because it's close. And Luton are on a bit of they picked up 2 good wins and a loss.
Luton are 1 point behind Everton now, isn't it?
Yeah.
In the relegation zone.
Because Everton lost 3 on the bounce, which is...
Let me start at the bottom of the table. I personally feel Luton will I think Luton will stay up,
Okay.
I really got a feeling they're going to stay up. I think Everton will stay up as well, but I feel the team that could get dragged into it, if they're not careful, is Brentford.
Well, they are on 19 points.
I do like Brentford, but they could get dragged into a relegation battle. I think Nottingham Forest are going to be okay now because they've won a couple of games now and they've got a good manager. Nuno Espirito Santo is a very good manager with lower league clubs. He did well at Wolves. He done well at his other club in Portugal. Didn't have a good spell at Tottenham. Didn't have a good spell in Saudi Arabia. No, Qatar. Was it Qatar?
Yeah, Qatar, yeah.
Saudi Arabia. Didn't do well there. He got sacked. I thought he's a very good player. He's a very good manager when it comes to like smaller clubs. So Nottingham Forest would be okay. I think Everton should be okay. I think if they can like they lost 2 games on the bounce now. 3 in the bounce. They lost against City,
Tottenham and then Wolves.
I feel that they can definitely bounce back. This is Brentford I'm worried about. Brentford lost 5 games on the bounce.
Yep.
And games that they got battered by Wolves at home. I was at that game. They lost lost against Palace.
Lost against Villa.
Lost against
Sheffield
Villa.
United, a shocking 1-0 defeat, and then lost against Brighton 2-1.
Yeah. So I think their form needs to improve. But I thought the issue with them, they had a lot of injuries. I think if Ivan Toney stays or if he goes, they're going to have to recruit the money very well and buy in a lot of players to replace him in that squad just to get them a clinical striker to replace him. And I think that if they can get a clinical striker to replace Toney if he leaves in January, I think that should be fine.
I would be intrigued if Arsenal could do a loan swap deal with Brentford.
Nketiah.
So Nketiah loan for the season, option to buy.
Yeah.
Toney loan for the season, obligation to buy.
That could work.
And then just work out the numbers.
I think Eddie Nketiah will score goals at Brentford, sorry.
I agree.
I think he'll score. I think Brentford is his level. There's no disrespect to him, but I think Brentford, Crystal Palace, Everton, Wolves, that's his level. Fulham, that's his level.
Do you know how I look at it though?
Yeah.
If I'm being really cynical, if I'm how I'd pitch it to Eddie, is this, because he's been on loan before. He's at Leeds.
Yeah, didn't
hasn't had a
work
loan
out.
since.
Yeah,
I'd say to him, look, we rate you very highly. We think you're a very good striker. Right now, we're looking for more output. Obviously, obviously he's our top goal scorer as a striker right now, which is shocking. Thanks to that 1 hat trick. But like, I would say to him, look, we want you to go to Brentford. We want you to score a bunch of goals. We still see a path for you here at Arsenal, which is true. They do rate him very highly.
Yeah.
But we want more. Yeah. So you go to Brentford, you keep them up. We want you to get 10 to 15 goals there.
Yeah.
You get 10 goals there, no problem. See you at pre-season next summer. Yeah. And then we're going to assess it between the 3 of you. But at the end of the summer, 1 of you will be gone. Or both of you, or 2 of you will be gone from the 3.
Yeah.
That's what I'll do.
I'll do that as well.
Be a big club. Like, it's not a crash. Colney Crush days is done. Like, let's actually be a big club. You think players can go to Man United and be, I mean, not current Man United.
So Alex Ferguson, Man United.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's a big club. You step out to a big club, you got to accept that it ain't going to go your way all the time. Same if you go to Man City. Look at Man City. They had Aguero, number one striker for so long. Who cares? Haaland. Bye-bye.
No, I feel like Arteta needs to be ruthless. I honestly feel that what it should do, I just said, do the Tony thing, loan out both players. Whoever scores more goals than each other, that's one you keep in the summer.
That's it.
And then Jesus, you got 6 months to prove to us that you're the striker that's going to take us to the next level. If not, then we'll replace you in the summer as well. I'll try in the summer, sign Tony on a permanent and buy a striker like an Osherman or a Vajovic, someone who can challenge Tony as well. Then you have competition, 2 strikers competing for a place in the team. I personally, for every club in the league, look at Man City's team. They got every player fighting for position. You got Grealish and Doku, Foden and Bernardo Silva. Bernardo Silva can play anywhere in that midfield. He can play right, left, centre. You got Diaz and you got Guardiola. You got Ake. They got so many. Angie.
Then you think about midfield, they've got, obviously, you got Rodrigo, they got Kovacic, you got Matthias Nunez.
And they got Rico Lewis, who can play midfield as well.
There you go.
They got John Stones, who can play midfield as well. They got Kyle Walker. So they got the goalkeeper, Edison and Ortega. Ortega has played a lot of games as well in the cup games and in a couple of Champions League games as well. Haaland and
Alvarez.
Alvarez is kind of, because De Bruyne has been injured, has played on number 10. But his natural position is number 9 anyway, but he can play versatile anyway. So it goes to show they've got that's the blueprint. If you want to win the league, that's what you need. Every position's got competition for it. At Arsenal, I think the only issue I have with Arsenal, we don't have competition for our main players. So say, for example, if Jesus is injured, then Nketiah's not the same level as a Jesus.
No, so there's a drop-off.
There's a big drop-off.
And Trossard would be a better replacement, but it doesn't always work.
No.
So, yeah, and then I think the biggest issue, again, like I said, you're right. And in the wide areas, like Nelson should
be challenging
but
Saka
we just don't
and
see
Martinelli.
it. We don't see it.
Smith Rowe should be challenging Odegaard for replacement. I know Odegaard's the captain, but if Odegaard's not doing the business, you have to be ruthless and drop him.
But let's just call a spade a spade. Smith Rowe saved Arteta's career at Arsenal.
He did.
So we know what he can do. And I think one of the biggest things when Odegaard first got signed was like, well, why have we brought in this guy when Smith Rowe was doing the business? Yeah. Now, I mean, I love Odegaard and I'm glad that we did make that deal. But there's still a guy there. And whether it's been an issue in mentality, training, application, I don't know, whatever the issue has been with Smith Rowe. But unleash the Smith. Let's give him a chance to really show what he can do. But yeah, you're right. I think that's going to be the big thing, is like that competition for places and getting that kind of hunger and ruthlessness back. And we'll see what Arsenal do. Lots of talk, lots of rumours about whether we go for a left back, centre back, midfielder. We're going to see what's going to happen. We'll be back next week with a more in-depth coverage of the FA Cup games. We're going to talk a lot more about Chelsea's situation this league season rather. And we're going to talk about Manchester United. We might have a guest on about that because I think we need to have another conversation about them because you're in 8th. Are you not embarrassed? Anyway, we'll see you guys next time.
Peace.